Gypsies, Roma, that a lot of the heroes of the Central European revolutions look at Ronald Reagan as a hero. What a shock that was to me going over there, coming out of the lessons I have. And to my mind, it seems like when you talk about transcendence and stepping across it, the role of the artist, if you're going to have good art, as opposed to poster art, is a lot of my Central European art, like to talk about politically correct art, that it's the paradox of life that is the most complicated. And the role of the artist is almost like a priestcraft where you engage in this process of creativity and you look at the received wisdom, you look at the unpopular truths, you delve into the difficulties, into the paradoxes. And out of that creative process comes something new, which we all have to do as citizens. It's not just enough to receive what comes from above or what comes from below, but to form our own identity. And that is always a very difficult process. I wish you'd comment on Schiller especially.
Well, I'll just say this about your comment, and that is, and I think you're pointing to the fact you can get received wisdom, which you should avoid, and which you should criticize, not just from people with power. There's such a thing as received wisdom from your friends, or received wisdom from the people, on your side. There's a dogmatism that can come from all quarters. And there's a dogmatism of the establishment, and there can be a dogmatism of the anti-establishment. But ultimately, and I think you're right about it, ultimately you have to, not just as an artist, but as an independent thinking citizen, you have to look at all of that, take in all of that, and not be bullied by anybody, including the people on your side, and think for yourself and come to your own conclusion. And then look for people who have come to the same conclusion, because as an individual, it's very hard to do anything in society. So you look for people who have come to the same conclusion and you try to do things together. And always be alert for more dogmas and more restrictions placed on your thinking. Yes?
I basically have a question for the entire room with a response to the angry person who asked Felicity and what she's saying. Would everybody in this room be interested in changing anything in the world if it drops the value of their money? Yes. Because this is what this is about, once you get down to the nitty-gritty. I'm not from here. Right now my life is on the American dollar, and I'm automatically implicated by that. And so are you. Your anger at the government is also your anger at yourself. It has to be. Because as long as the dollar is stable, this situation will exist in some form, somewhere. If any currency is stable, it necessitates that somebody is paying for it. So individually, I mean, the government picks up more criticism, perhaps, from people in this country as a whole. If the economy becomes unstable, then if they go to war. And that's implicated, it means something. So that's my question to everybody in this room is, would you change anything if it's going to cost you money? Because I'm not sure I would.
You say you're not sure you would, but I suspect you would. I remember seeing an ad some years ago, placed in a big ad in the New York Times, placed by Benton and Bowles, the advertising agency, and the ads just said in big letters, if it doesn't sell, it's not art.
The way you could end this war is to open the doors to everybody from Islam who wants to leave. If you let them all leave and come to America, you destroy Islam. It would destroy your economy.
I'm sorry, if you let them all come to America, you would do what?
If you let everybody who wanted to leave Islam,
Yeah.
great, destroy. I mean, just statistically speaking, this is not the answer, but I'm saying it's a completely different way of waging war.
Yes.
implications of this? Because watching CNN, there's an endless procession of these guys, of George W. Bush, Osama bin Laden, and it really does seem like war is kind of a dick thing. Do you think some kind of hormone therapy or something?
War is a dick thing. The language that has been used in this hall tonight is shocking. Must I discuss hormones? There do seem to be a lot of men, but I actually resist the idea of dividing the men are the warriors and the women are the anti-warriors. And I have too much experience with Margaret Thatcher and Kirkpatrick and Madeleine Albright and so on. But there is a macho thing which women can have too, right? It crosses gender lines, but has to do with machismo and the idea of being tough and being strong, and I think there's a psychological element that enters into it, and you can see that in the language that's used and the posturing and the military men with the medals, and I mean, there's something ironic about it. Here's the United States, by far the greatest military power in the world, needing to prove its manhood, needing to prove that it's tough, that it's strong. Yes.
The government has responded to in a positive way.
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear you.
Historically, what has been done that people have done that the government has responded to positively?
What? Oh. Question, historically, what have people done that the government has responded to? I guess another way of putting it is, have there been occasions historically when people have been able to have an effect on government policy? Is that a fair statement? Well, yes. And I mean, you can, well, just take the United States, and you can go back to the anti-slavery movement, and which had a very powerful effect on Lincoln and the Congress. Slavery in this country didn't simply disappear because Abraham Lincoln became president and issued the Emancipation Proclamation, and Congress passed the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendments. No, slavery became the object of a national movement which started very small and became very strong from the 1830s to the 1860s, built up and created really a crescendo of pressure on Lincoln and on Congress, which I think had a very important effect on putting slavery at the center of the war towards the end, whereas at the beginning of the war, you may remember that Lincoln said, look, if I could end this war, if I could bring back the South without ending slavery, without touching slavery, I would do it. Well, that was different than the language of the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment. But, has the government responded to what people have done? Yes. Not easily. The government doesn't respond easily. But the legislation that we finally got in the 1930s of a minimum wage, Social Security, the laws that were passed in various states to give workmen's compensation to people who were injured, the